Our next guest, Angela McCarthy, is the founder and creative director of Creative. Now, if you're a branding person and you want a pedigree, then Angela worked for Landor in Sydney and Wolff, Olins and the partners in London before deciding to go out on her own, like we all do eventually after working for a couple of the big shops. And she's a creative that I'm inspired by because she'll talk very openly and freely about what empathy is to design. And empathy and psychology, I think, are very underrated when it comes to the creative process, especially if you're just starting out. And really being able to put yourself into the mindset and to the soul of the entity or the other person. And I think that's something that we should all pick our brains about today. Still, like some of our other guests today, keeping your fingers in all the creative pies you can. She also owns a very wonderfully named screen printing company called Materialistic, which I think is a beautiful name. I know you guys are looking forward to hearing Jason speak later as well, and she's worked alongside Jason on projects such as Optus, and I know that we'll probably hear a little bit about that later on today, as well as the Olympics LA 2024 bid, which is just some beautiful work. The philosophy as well that Angela has about keeping a nimble team, I think is really relevant to one of the themes today about space and culture and what is a workplace. Building a team per project, which I think is a very agile and a very new way of looking at things. She's a very inspirational creative, and please give a very warm welcome to Angela McCarthy. Your clicker.
Okie dokie. The green button? Okay, hello. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for that big introduction. Foundry is such a great place. We hear about it a lot in Sydney. You know, your social media is awesome. So when Matt asked me to come along, of course I said yes. A 30-minute talk. Ooh, what's the theme? So as I waited and waited for those dots to turn to reply, I realised how much our work life is actually like dating, anxiety. Will they reply? Will they like my work? Nervousness. Do I have the skills? Will I have to learn new skills? Do I want to learn new skills? I had to learn Keynote for this presentation, by the way. And then disappointment when those dots disappear. So that raised in me the question, what makes a good design relationship? So in light of that, I thought that's what I would use my experience in the industry and talk about today, relationships in design. No. How about let's just keep it basic, building better relationships. So there's going to be 3 parts to my talk today. The first bit of an icebreaker, a little bit about me. Hopefully this will answer why the Foundry has matched us together today. A middle bit, relationship basics, and then an end bit which is about some life lessons. So, you're about to spend 30 minutes with me. It's only polite that I should introduce myself. That's too small. Oh, Angela who? Angela who? So online I'm under Materialistic because it's brighter and more colourful than my corporate life. Screen printing is a love of mine. I've had since, this is my actual screen printing box that my parents found in the garage recently. I went to University of Canberra before mirrors and GHDs by the look of that haircut. And these are my tools. So you're very lucky to the students here. You don't have to use cow gum anymore. Things that I love, likes and dislikes. Pizza. Put chicken on it? No, thank you. This book, I had the fortunate opportunity to work in London for the partners, so I got to work with Dave Stewart and anything, so that's sort of really been bred into me from a young age. So this book, puns, ideas, wit, love that stuff. However, movies or books that have no point, so I don't know if that's loaded, has it? Oh yeah, I'd like to think I like dance like Beyonce. I dislike that I don't. So why did we get matched together today? So After graduation, I worked in Sydney for a couple of years and then did the whole backpacker thing and moved to London. Thought I'd just stay for a year, ended up staying for a decade. So I worked at the Partners, then Super Union, the Partners then became Super Union last year, and Wolff Olins. Both places taught me the rigour and discipline of ideas. Ideas first, ideas always. And kind of before branding was a Kardashian. Worked on all sorts of things, crockery, airlines, telcos, handbags. And I got those jobs not because I was stratospherically talented as the rest of the people there, but because I was enthusiastic and I worked hard and I listened. So that's a very quote from me, but this guy says it more eloquently. He's got more kudos than me as well. So, yes, anyway, put us more eloquently. And then back to Australia. I can't see the slides. Oh, there we go. So yeah, freelanced for a CRIM, National Australia Bank, rebranded them, then moved on to what's my blue period, at Landor, where I worked part-time with Jason over there. He was ahead of his time and accepted part-timers so I could build up my side business in screen printing. So everything's going great, everything's on track, and then this happens. So why are you mentioning a kid in a talk about design? I just think employers are missing a trick, not accommodating more working parents back into the workforce. Because I saw the whole parenting thing in newborn as upskilling. You are working for a mini tyrant on terrible hours. You're able to handle criticism. I cut the strawberry the wrong way, by the way. You're tenacious. Anybody who has potty trained or tried to teach a kid how to ride. So what is this one? Oh yeah, out of the box thinkers. Book week parade. Oh my God, it will crush the most creative of souls. And that lovely term, agile multitaskers. So screen printing deadline, no childcare, we just get shit done. So after all that upskilling, I should be paying him commission. I started part-time again with Jason at RE. Thank you. We worked on Olympic pitch, but mainly criminals, lawyers, politicians, banks, and a lot of Optus. So again, it doesn't animate. Okay, oh yeah, so there's fashion, everything. So you might think working for 2.5 years on a brand is way, way too long, but not when it's if it's a morphic sort of brand. And Optus was not static. There was always something new happening. It felt like, every couple of months, it felt like you were working on a new sort of thing. There was tech, and not just tech. It was like, what could we do? A lot of possibilities, a lot of what ifs. There was a picture up there of like a watch. Like, could we make a watch? All this like fantastic possibilities. There was packaging workshops like with Ben Shahana, the paper guy. If you haven't, Google him. He's amazing. He came in for workshops, and we were trying to facilitate just pushing it out of that zone, and a lot of photo shoots. So now I'm creative. So this is me now. So my clients are medium-sized corporate ones who are looking to completely rebrand. I don't do small brochures here and there because I like the big, meaty challenges of, changing perception or changing brands. So as Tim mentioned earlier, there's only me, so I have a certain skill set. But when I do these big rebrands, I bring on a really bespoke, tailored team of experts. So if it's a medium-sized client but it has a bigger budget, that will, and also they're quite demanding, that will sort of, lead who I choose to put on the project. I won't just put on the same photographer I know, the same way I have in-house, the same way as I won't use the same illustrator or digital agency. So you can get to be really crafted and bespoke when you're building your team with each project. Another factor that's really helped, well, A, my enjoyment, and B, produce, I feel, really good, successful work, is that I only deal with key decision makers. I don't deal with the marketing assistant. I deal with the person at the end of the day, even if it's not day to day, that we have that relationship where I can talk to them and the responsibility is on me and there's respect, I think was raised before, because I've just seen too many times, like really good work just get lost or passed over because it's lost in translation internally. So that's a big thing that has helped in the last couple of years dealing with a key decision maker. I also use my power for good occasionally. I don't know if it's running. Is that White Ribbon? Yep. So White Ribbon is a campaign to sort of prevent men's violence against women. It's got very alarming stats. I'd recommend you look it up on the website afterwards. I think it's whiteribbon.org.au. And whilst I'm not recommending working for free or cheap, an ex-client approached me to help him out. And sometimes you have a responsibility. If you've got the skills, you've got the responsibility to help out where you can, and if you can. Like I was able to do it for a couple of years, but then you pass the baton on. But it feels good. So what you doing now? So I work from home. That's the technical term. But in actual fact, it's very different to what I'm doing. I'm actually running a business from the spare room. And maybe when you work in a studio 5 days a week, working from home is a bit of a treat. Maybe you don't have the self-discipline. So that's why I think working from home has a bad rep. But when you're doing what I'm doing, I'm running my own thing direct from the client. I have responsibilities. So location is a semantic. It's just the same professional, just a professional who doesn't have to brush her hair, although I recommend brushing your hair. It helps. Is this my list? Yes. So if this is something that you'd like to do, I've just got 4 top tips. Have a designated space with easy access to files, so when you sit down, you're ready to go. That hot desking thing is like, it sucks. I'm sorry, it sucks. And with a door that you can shut, so when you clock off or knock off, you can shut it and stop looking at it and hopefully pretend it's not there. Get a routine. Don't wear your pyjamas to work. Again, it's psychological. So get dressed, get up, get started. And also ignore the mess in the laundry, because people go, oh, you can put a wash on at lunchtime. No, I'm at work. Purpose, it's been brought up a lot today. It's just, like any good brand, have a purpose. Remind yourself why you're doing this. Is it more flexibility, more control, more money, more time on self? And then discipline. There's no one to pick up the slack, so you're going to have to learn very quickly to be disciplined and organised. So, enough about me. Let's talk about us. This is a question that comes up a lot, in particular with clients. So I'm just going to share something like an approach that's helped me. I feel that value comes from when you understand something, you can value it. And also, I feel valued when I feel understood. So it's like your first interaction with a potential client is like a blind date. You wouldn't go into a blind date, order their drink when you have no understanding of what they like or what they're allergic to. The same way, you can't walk up to a client and say, I know what you need. So how do we bring that value and understanding into our design work? So this feeling of value goes both ways. If you want to feel valued, you have to show that you value them as well. And so how do you do that? But it's just about taking the time to help them understand design and its value, and then taking the time, to understand them. So you need to approach the relationship as you would any other. You need to build it. And that means courtship. And the rules of dating apply. And there are 3 stages. So, stage 1, attraction. You've noticed each other. You might have been recommended. Somebody might have set you up. You might have run into them online. How do you move forward? You need to take Vanilla's advice. So, client is not a dirty word. Your clients is what is allowing you to stay into business. Money's going to change hands, so you have a responsibility to make sure that they can be their best self. So you've got to lose the tortured artist if you have one. I would recommend a background check, finding out if they're serious before you put in the time. So shy of a police background check, ask around. Has anybody worked with them? As an industry is quite small when you think about it. So ask around. Are they good payers? Do they pay on time? Are they actually a legitimate business? You don't want to get catfished. And it may involve some online stalking. We've all done it. So this is the sharing is caring stage. So there seems to be like this reticence to share about processes because it's boring and you want to be seen as this mystical designer. But I disagree. Like showing how long projects take and what the process is involved in all the stuff that goes on in the background and very loose ballparks, just so they're all prepared, you're easing them into the idea of you. And take the time to be understood. How can somebody value something if they don't understand it? You're saying, you should value this, but you just got to take their word for it. So take the time to help them understand what the value of design. I ran out of screen. Be understood. This is just being, I think, again, we have a tendency to use industry jargon. It's not that we're lazy, maybe we forget, but not everybody understands that. So just make yourself relatable and understandable to them. And be curious. There's no such thing as a bad brief. So if you haven't got the information, keep asking questions until you get enough information and you've got the right brief. You can't say at the end of the project when it fails, oh, I got a bad brief. That's your responsibility. That's not theirs. And also, when you give somebody your undivided attention, who doesn't love that? Oh, here we go. Back up here. I need my glasses. So, listen to the potential client. This is just about needs and wants. They may say they want a brochure, but actually they need a website. This is just, 101 of design. What are their expectations? Do you have the skills? Do you have to learn new skills? Or do you need to refer it on? Do they require more attention than you can give? So I'm a one-man band. I need to bring somebody in. If there's no budget to bring somebody in, that's just not the right fit for me. I will refer it on. And also, beware of over-promising.
Oh, that's great. Great. You're together, 3 weeks?
A month. How did you know that?
You take someone to the airport, it's clearly the beginning of a relationship. That's why I have never taken anyone to the airport at the beginning of a relationship.
Why?
Because eventually things move on, and you don't take someone to the airport, and I never wanted anyone to say to me, how come you never take me to the airport anymore?
Over-promising. And listen to yourself. Are you interested? Is it something new? Will you learn a new skill? Is it a new industry? Is it a new challenge? There's that constant reinvention interest part. That's also, you have to also listen to yourself. Is it the right fit? Does it match your ethics? Does it match your interest? Is it the right size and price for your business? And importantly, listen to your spidey senses. The one thing you can count on is human nature. If a potential client is misbehaving, like not returning calls or talking over you in meetings in the early exciting stage, they're going to be much worse mid-project. So just listen to yourself and trust your instincts. Sometimes if I could tell that, but I really want to do the job, I know they're hard, I add danger money to my quotes. That's another way you could manage it. Literally, it's a line item. They never see it. It's a line item. Danger money. Okay. Interested? It's time to meet. I've not been on Tinder. Do you swipe right? Anyway, foreplay. Things are getting interesting. So this is the particularly enjoyable stage. This is the visual porn stage. desire, because you want to get them really wanting a brand transformation. You get them envious of your exes by sharing case studies and showing past projects. Pride, be proud of the work that you've done and the work that you can potentially do together. Tap into fantasies and use analogies like, you can be the Harvard of dog schools. You can be the Gucci of lawyers. That last one was actually real. That was Clayton Nutz's tagline, not tagline, but like internal inspiration fantasy. And talk to them like they're the only client in the room. So this is the stage, this next part is where you're showing to them that you listened in stage one, you understand them, and that you're really compatible. What a good match. So it's fun, exciting, it's a time filled with possibilities, but it's easy to get carried away, like start, oversharing, giving away your IP for free, but wait. Okay, it's boring, but terms, conditions, estimates, T's and C's, these are your design prenups. It keeps a relationship of trust alive. So it sounds like I'm getting too granular, but it's all this housekeeping that's actually going to give you the room to be even more creative, because you and your client have established solid foundations and that there's trust. It's a safe space because you have protection. And also there's no use agreeing a really good rate or something that you're happy with if they're going to just eat it all up with 50 rounds of drip-fed feedback. So get comfortable talking about with the detail and also with the money. Another side thing is get something up front, whether it's 50%, 30%, and if they push back, then that's your red flag. Abort mission. It means that this relationship of trust that you're trying to build is only one-sided and they're just not that into you. Okay. I can't see. Okay. So can we talk about the elephant in the room? You want to know how to feel valued in a relationship? Don't give it away for free. This is my granddad. I know it's a commonly used term, but yeah. So don't work for free, and don't work for somebody who says it's going to be good for your portfolio, and don't free pitch. Sure, you can justify it. But what are you, 16 and low on self-worth? Giving your work away for less than what it's worth is counterproductive to staying in business. It's basically saying, I don't value myself or my contribution, so why should you? It's also, as I said, you may have an excuse, it was just that one time, but it also just devalues the whole industry. We're just giving away all this value like it's cheap takeaway. Anyway, so we know it's silly. Let's not do it. Let's move on. So stage 3, everything's in order. Briefs have been taken, concepts and ideas are ready. This is your moment. You've primed the client with tempting possibilities. Insightful understanding, you've got them hot under the collar. This is the big time.
It's business.
Sorry.
It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business. It's business time. Ooh. It's business. It's business time.
Sorry, I love that song. It's because it's business time. Anyway, it's the most nerve-wracking of stages. You are sharing your concepts, you're laying yourself bare, especially with design. There's so much of ourselves that go into it. So there's going to be some performance anxiety. You'll be nervous, especially if it's your first time. But remember, they called you, they're interested. The client may experience some mild discomfort, but that's okay because you might just be pushing them outside of their comfort zone. You might be suggesting a sans serif instead of a serif. So be prepared for some rejection, especially if you're presenting options, because only one is going to be able to get up, something. That didn't sound right. Anyway, but one will go ahead, which means that there will be enthusiasm as one idea is embraced. So make eye contact Connect with your, don't just look at your notes, like I'm trying to. Try to, read the room. Is somebody distracted? Bring them back, bring their attention back. And hopefully there'll be this. Design is communication, so unless you can sell in the idea, you haven't really done your job. So at the end, hopefully there's agreement, they're satisfied, they're looking forward to their next meeting. So have clear steps. Sorry, I can't even read this, sorry. Have clear steps. Who's going to call who next? Give them space, let them sleep on it, think about it overnight, let them digest, get their thoughts in order. But don't ghost them. Call them, if you say you're going to call them, call them. Sometimes you can have all the right moves, but success is just beyond your control. There will always be that client who leads you on a merry dance. But sometimes there are things that are just beyond your control, like the head of marketing who can't see the recycle logo for the punani. True story, she put into research because she said, yeah. Has it come up? Anyway. Or what happened in London, we suggested that this new airline be purple. It would really break the space because it was 20 years ago. But then it was like a month's worth of work shot down in the first 2 seconds when they said a purple plane wouldn't get off the ground because purple paint is heavier than white paint. So a month's work gone. Anyway, so don't be discouraged. It's not a big deal. So enough about me. Let's talk about us. So here are some life lessons. There is no such thing as the perfect job. There will be almost right, nearly right. You may find a fantastic, cool studio with beautiful work, but you're quite a social butterfly and they wear headphones all day. You get a job for, a traffic warden or an accounting firm. Oh gosh, no. No, we'll make it yours. It's an opportunity to use an illustrator you haven't used before. Print on colour plan. Expand your digital knowledge. Basically, make it enjoyable, make it yours. And there's no knight or knightess on in shining armour charging in to headhunt you and take you away to your perfect job. It's up to you. So don't sit at home waiting for opportunities. You've got to go out, go to events like today, and just get chatting, whether it's online, even just random people you meet in the supermarket. Everything's all going into this whole network and connectivity. Nothing lasts forever, and that's a good thing. Our industry is constantly changing, as Future Days gave us an example of earlier, and Hoyne with placemaking. This is great. This is a good thing. You're not in a job for life anymore, and it's no time to get bored or stale. Print designers are going digital. There's VR. I'm getting the warning. Brand designers are moving into motion. So it's a good thing. So I suggest you get a bit on the side. I have a bit on the side. It's therapeutic. It can tap into a long-lost love, like screen printing for me. Escapism, it can use parts of your brain that you've forgotten about. Manual labour. And I think inside, it's a release. I think inside most creative, there's a hidden other side to them, whether it's surfing or crochet or, tattooing, baking. But make the room in your life for it, and I promise it will clear a space in your head you didn't know you needed. Has that moved on? No? But be prepared. Some agencies don't like you to love another because it may take them time to rethink the traditional work. Maybe they'll lose a bit of control. But some agencies will be open-minded and are smart enough to value the individual and their skills. So at Wolff Olins, hardly anybody was just a designer. Marina, who did the Tate Gallery, was a filmmaker. There was a packaging designer who worked part-time for Philip Stark. Sorry, a design director who worked part-time doing products for Philip Stark. There was like more yoga instructors you could poke a stick at. There was a guy who restored vintage bicycles, and the copywriter was a part-time model on music videos. And I think you'll all agree that Wolff Olins works the better for that diversity. So if you are the sort of person who needs more, or at a stage in life, you're at the stage in life where you do need more, or just find an agency or create your own thing or create your own agency to accommodate that other love, and you'll know you found a keeper. So just quickly, this is my bit on the side. Is it moving? So lovely stuff you just have to have. It is essentially an indulgence. It is hand screen printed textiles. It's like eco inks, every colour's hand mixed. It's a labour of love, and I'm actually in love with my bit on the side, but she's so very enjoyable. Last section, self-love. So I get asked, why'd you leave such a cool agency like Reed to set up in your spare room? Well, I put me first. I loved agency work, always have. It's been, big brands, I'm quite social. But then a couple of things changed at the same time. My circumstance at home changed. My daughter was going to school. Pickups at 3. Oh my God. Okay. And there was a new creative director who was brought on to the agency. So essentially I had a child who needed a parent and a creative director who didn't believe in parents. So it was very clear I was going to need more flexibility than the agency model could or would offer. So not knowing what to do, I wrote a list. Can I change school hours? No. Can I hack my creative director's Tinder profile? No. Do I have the energy to take down the patriarchy? No. Did I want to change my values and just not be part of my daughter's life and work all the hours to continue on this career trajectory? No. And so I realised that I have a choice, going back up, I do have a choice. And I think we forget that sometimes. I think we're so caught up in the coalface. We think, this is what I've got to do, this is what I've got to do. But remember, this is, without sounding like a greeting card, this is your life, this is your choice. And it's your choices and values that should drive you. So I had to ask myself, what did I value? And by career, I don't mean the traditional career trajectory. For me, career means mental stimulation, something that I did actually miss when I was off on maternity leave. Purpose, I have a real pride, I think we all do, ego in your work. And of course, financial rewards. By hedonism, I mean pleasure, time for pleasure, time for hobbies, times for holidays, times for reading. I love reading, it breaks my heart. I can't read as much as I used to. Endorphins, I like the feeling I have after I've done exercise. It's great, it's really helpful, and I love the beach. Happy head, it's kind of related to the previous one. And by love, I mean the personal responsibilities that come with that. So my partner and my daughter, and financial stability. So in my 20s, prioritised hedonism. And then in my 30s, career over mental health. And now I just want a big rainbow mesh up of all 4 of my values. So ask yourself, what do you value? Do you need a high profile job because you want to go on speaking tours and go work in New York? Do you need control? Do you need to run your own things? Money. Do you need a mega salary so you can date models and travel first class? Or are you supporting a family and you just need to put bread on the table? Pleasure. Do you need to leave at 6 every day because you're learning a new skill, a second language or something? And health, be it mental or physical health. Do you need to work part-time because you just need a break? Or do you need to work part-time because you're looking after somebody? Or are you a social being and whilst you like working for yourself, you really thrive in bigger agencies in that environment. So, last slide. It wouldn't be a proper relationship without a bit of nagging. So, I was going to see. Do unto others. And this goes back to the value goes both ways. Treat your clients as you'd like to be treated, with clarity and understanding. We're communicators, that's the least we can do. And remember, relationships take time. If a client isn't understanding something you're saying or something about the process, take the time to explain it. Use different words, use different analogies. And don't hoard, as I said earlier. I'm an oversharer at the best of times, so I really like to make sure they're understanding all the little steps. I don't think somebody looking at something won't understand how much work and detail's gone into something. And basically, yeah, I see this as a key part of the job, because at some point, the project's going to end, and if you want your ideas and creativity to live on, you need to have, like, the ambassadors still left their side, so give them the words to help them move it on. Spell check everything. Hopefully I didn't have any spelling mistakes, but honestly, everything, your emails, your proposals, your T's and C's, you will look like an amateur if you don't. Just do it. Yeah, as I said earlier, contracts and legals equals trust. And for me, trust equals creativity. You know, it may sound like, oh my God, that's dull and boring, but I promise you, once that's out of the way, forget about it, because you know you're trusted and they trust you, and you can be as creative. They will let you have more creative freedom. Play the long game. You don't want to be building somebody else's business up over yours. So, as Andy and Blair N say, don't work for free. Don't devalue yourself. And I can't see what's up next. Again, just if you're not getting the information for a brief and it's not clear, just be relentless. Keep asking questions until it's clear. Obviously. But sometimes you can start a project with all filled with excitement and think this is going to be great, but then it turns out they're putting a handbrake on everything. Big deal. You're a professional. Don't do a shit job. It's also detrimental to our industry, because they'll think, well, I paid that person, it wasn't very good. Oh, I'm not going to pay that person that much because design isn't valued. So don't do a shit job. And the more you do it, the better you'll get.